Alright guys, welcome to the TEKS test review for fall 2023. Let's get started off on number 1. So it says Linda works as a lifeguard for $15 an hour. She also babysits for $10 an hour. Linda needs to earn at least $120 per week, but does not want to work any more than 30 hours per week. Graph the system of inequalities below to represent L, the number of hours working as a lifeguard, and B, the number of hours babysitting. Alright, so we're going to use this graph because the one on the review didn't print out correctly. So we got B and L. So we see that B represents the y value or the y-axis. So for these two inequalities, let's solve them both for B. Alright, so we got 15L plus 10B is greater than or equal to 120. Alright, so let's start off by subtracting the 15L. Alright, then let's divide by 10. So we get B is greater than or equal to negative 3/2 L plus 12. Alright, so this is going to be in slope-intercept form. And then let's solve for B for the other one. So subtract the L. We get B is less than or equal to negative L plus 30. Alright, so now let's graph both of these. Alright, since they're both in slope-intercept form, they tell us the y-intercept and the slope. So let's start off with this one. This one has a y-intercept of 12 and a slope of negative 3/2. But be careful, the scales are going by 2's. So if I go down 3, I go here, and if I go right 2, it's right here. Again, because the scales are by 2's. Down 3, right 2, down 3, right 2. Alright, so that's that one. And then since the sign is greater than or equal to, we're going to shade everything above it. And then for this one, the y-intercept is at 30. The slope is at negative 1. So we're going to go down 1, right 1. Also, if I go down 2, right 2, negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. So I could just go down 2, right 2. It's the same thing as the slope of negative 1. Alright, so now for this one, less than or equal to means to shade below. So the regions where they both would meet, or the shaded regions, would be all right here. Alright, so again, this line said greater than or equal to this one, so we shaded everything above. For this one, it's less than or equal to, so we shade everything below. And this region is where both shaded areas would meet. Alright, so now it says circle all ordered pairs below that are in the solution set. So let's see which one of those ordered pairs are part of the solutions. Alright, so let's check 4, 4. So if I go 4, 4, that's going to be on the outside. So 4, 4 would be on the outside. So that doesn't work. Then we got 4, 8. That one does work. It's going to be inside. Alright, then we got 2, 10. That one is slightly inside, so that's a solution. Then we got 620. Right, that one also works. Alright, so let's check 0, 0. That one's on the outside, doesn't work. We got 12, 20. That one is also on the outside, doesn't work. 12, 16. Inside the solution set, that works. Then 16, 16. Outside, does not work. So only 4 of the 8 worked. Right, also, talking about these two, L is greater than or equal to 0, so that means shade everything above this line. B is greater than or equal to 0, it means shade everything to the right of it. So basically it's the whole region. And then again, everything met in this pink region right here. Alright, so then question 2, Jameson is vacationing in the mountains and wants to rent a bike. He found 2 rental companies. Bob's Bikes charges a non-refundable deposit of $10, then $7.50 per hour of rental. Cammy's Rentals charges a bike fee of $15 and then just $5 per hour of rental. For each company, write an equation showing the total rent cost, which is C, as a function of the number of hours H the bike was rented. Alright, so let's do the first one for Bob's Bikes. We got the cost equals $7.50 per hour, and we're using H. Alright, so 7.50 H plus a $10 deposit. And then for Cammy's, we got the cost equals $5 per hour plus a $15 fee. About how many hours in the cost is the cost at both companies the same? Alright, since both of these equations are in slope-intercept form, you could either set them equal to each other, then solve for H, or you could just plug them both into y equals. Alright, so let's see when they both have the same price. Alright, so right there, when X is 2, they both have the same price of $25. So at 2 hours. So at 2 hours, they both have the same cost. Alright, so if Jameson wants to rent the bike for about 5 hours, which company would have the better deal? Alright, so let's go to 5 hours. Alright, so this company is going to charge $47.50. This one's going to charge $40. So the best deal is the one that we plugged into Y2, which was 5x plus 15, which was Cammy's company. So Cammy's Rentals. And theirs was $40. Alright, then for number 3, at the arcade, Sammy won 2 blue tickets, 1 yellow ticket, 3 red tickets for 1,500 total points. Jamie won 1 blue ticket, 2 yellow, 2 red for 1,225 total points. The last person, 2 blue, 3 yellow, 1 red for 1,200 points. Alright, so we're going to create a system, then make a matrix, then solve the matrix. So write a system of equations to represent the situation. So B represents blue, Y represents yellow, or B represents the point value of blue tickets, Y the point value of yellow, R the point value of red tickets. Alright, so let's make a system. So for Sammy, she had 2 blue plus 1 yellow plus 3 red, and those were worth 1,500 points. Jamie had 1 blue plus 2 yellow plus 2 red equals 1,225 points. The last person, 2 blue, plus 3 yellow, plus 1 red for 1,200 points. Alright, so let's put a matrix based off this system. The first row is going to be 2, 1, 3, 1,500. Second row, 1, 2, 2, 1,225. Last row, 2, 3, 1, 1,200. Alright, so now you could either use the Desmos calculator, or if you want to use the one on here, you would go to Stat, Matrix, Edit. You want a 3x4, we should have 2, 1, 3, 1,500, 1, 2, 2, 1,225, 2, 3, 1, 1,200. Alright, then go back to the blank screen, second mode, back to second matrix, math, go to REF, reduced row echelon form, go back to second matrix and insert your matrix. Alright, so we get a solution matrix of 1, 0, 0, 125, 0, 1, 0, 200, 0, 0, 1, 350. Alright, so the first row is telling me that we have B equals 125, so blue ticket's worth 125 points. Y equals 200, so yellow's worth 200 points. R equals 350, so that's worth 350 points. Alright, so then do the same thing for the bottom four. So second matrix, edit, 3x4s. We got 1, 2, 3, 9, 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, 3. Alright, second matrix, REF, and we should get 2, negative 1, and 3. And again, you could always use the Desmos matrix calculator. Right, and then for 5 and 6, just do the exact same steps. You should end up with negative 4, 3, and 3. Right, so this is how your matrix should look like. And then for the last one, you should end up with 1.5, negative 2, 3. Alright, so then for number 7, number 7 says Michael is shopping for clothes. He needs to buy an equal amount of shirts and ties. He also needs to buy 4 times as many shirts as pants. Shirts cost $35, ties cost $25, pants cost $40. Michael spends $560. Using the system below, determine how many shirts, ties, and pants he purchased. Alright, so for this one, you could also set it up as a matrix. So let's move all the variables to one side. So we got S minus T equals 0, S minus 4P equals 0, and then the bottom equation didn't change. Alright, so let's make a matrix out of this. Alright, so S, we got 1S, negative 1T, 0 P's, and 0. Second row, we got 1S, 0 T's, negative 4 for P, 0. We got 35, 25, 40, and 560. Alright, so remember, each column should represent the same variable. So here we got the shirts, here we got ties, here we got the pants, here we got the total. Alright, so then let's plug that into the calculator. Alright, this is going to be the solution matrix. So we get Alright, so this matrix is telling me that we got S equals 8, so we got 8 shirts. We got T equals 8, so that means we got 8 ties. And then P equals 2, so we got 2 pants. So that's how much he purchased, and he had a total cost of $560. Alright, then for number 8, movies in the United States make billions of dollars. The chart below shows movie revenue for certain years. Find the linear regression equation that fits the data shown above. Alright, so again, you could always use Desmos on this. You would just have to use the tilde. So again, if you're going to use Desmos on this, put this into the table. Then you would do y tilde mx plus b. Alright, but for this one, I'll use the calculator. So we would go to stat, edit, type in your data. So here I already have mine. Then you go back to stat, go to calc. We're trying to find the linear regression equation, so we're going to use linreg, which is option 4. And then we get y equals .53x. Okay, hold on, let me double check the data. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that should be more. This should be more accurate. So let's see what it should be. There we go. So it should be 0.53x plus 6.19. Alright, and then once you have your equation, you could just plug them into y equals. Alright, so the year starts at 1995, that represents year 0. So if we're going to find the total revenue in 2010, from 1995 to 2010, it's 15 years. So x equals 15. And when x equals 15, we get 14.14 billion. So again, we're talking about money, so 14.4 billion would be the revenue in the year 2010. Alright, now for number 9. Alright, so for number 9, the graph didn't print out correctly, so this should be the correct one. So what is the value of g of 4? So g of 4 is basically saying when x is 4, when do we touch this function g of x? So g of x is right here. It's the absolute value right here. It makes the V shape. Alright, so we touch x equals 4 when y is, x equals 4 when y is negative 2. So right here. Alright, what is the solution set of g of x equals 2? So the solution set is the value of x's. It's usually talking x about the x's. So when y equals 2, so it's a horizontal line at 2, what are your solutions? It happens when x is 2 and when x is 7. Now, what is the solution set of g of x when x greater than or equal to 2? So basically y greater than or equal to 2. So here we have the line y equals 2. Everything greater than this line is going to happen on these two branches. Alright, so then on the number line, you would go from negative infinity to negative 2. Positive 2. union, pick back up at 7, continue to infinity. Or you could write this as x is less than or equal to 2, or x is greater than or equal to 7. Alright, so then what is the domain of g of x? The domain of absolute values are always negative infinity to infinity. Alright, so negative infinity to infinity for domain of absolute value functions. Then g of x is the range. So range is from bottom up on the x-axis. We start at -3 and continue going up to infinity. And then f. If h of x equals 1/2 times gx, describe how the graph of g of x and h of x compare. Alright, so here we would have a vertical compression by 1/2. Alright, so we would say g of x is vertically compressed by 1/2. Alright, so then let's look at 10. The table shows some values from an absolute value function y equals h of x. What is the value of h of 2? Alright, so this is kind of like a from number 9. H of 2 is basically saying when x is 2, what is y? So when x is 2, what is the y value? 5. So h of 2 equals 5. Alright, so here x is 2, the y value would be 5. Now this one is, what is the solution set of h of x equals 3? So now it's saying when y equals 3, what are my x's? So right here, -2, and right here, +1. So my solution set is -2 and +1. Now for C, what is the solution set of h of x is greater than or equal to 3? So let's go to our 3's, right here. The y values are greater than or equal to 3 in this direction and in this direction. But since we're talking about the solution set, we have to talk about the x's. Alright, so the solutions when this occurs would be -2 and 1. Right, for -2, the solutions would have to be less than -2, so the arrow would point this way. And then for this one, the x values have to be greater than 1. Alright, so the solution set could be written as -infinity to -2, bracket union, bracket 1 to infinity. Or it could be written x is less than or equal to -2, or x is greater than or equal to 1. Alright, so then we got number 11. These are solving absolute value equations and inequalities. So for this one, we need to isolate the absolute value. So add 2, then divide by 3. Alright, so we got 3 absolute value, 4x minus 5 equals 21. Divide by 3, it equals 7. Alright, so remember with absolute values, there's 2 scenarios. There's a positive scenario, so 4x minus 5 equals 7. And then a negative scenario, negative parentheses, 4x minus 5 equals 7. And then solve each one for x. So for this one, add the 5, divide by 4. We get x equals 3. For this one, distribute the negative. We get -4x plus 5 equals 7. Subtract the 5, we get -2. Or sorry, just +2. And then divide by -4, we get -1/2. Alright, so the solutions here are -1/2 and 3. Alright, then on the number line, they would just be single points. Alright, so then for the second one, same thing. You want to isolate the absolute value first. We get x is less than or equal to 3 after you subtract the 2. And then there's two cases. There's the positive x is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to 3. The negative x is less than or equal to 3. This one we have to solve, so divide by negative 1. We get x is greater than or equal to negative 3. Alright, so let's put this on a number line. Alright, so for negative 3, everything is greater than or equal to negative 3 going this way. Everything is less than or equal to 3 going left. So everything falls in between. So my solution set would be negative 3 is less than or equal to x less than or equal to 3. So then for the next one, this one's already isolated. I don't have to move anything, so I could just set up the two cases. X minus 3 equals 4, negative parentheses x minus 3 equals 4. So this one we just get x equals 7. This one we have to distribute the negative, makes it negative x plus 3 equals 4. Subtract the 3, we get 1. Divide by negative 1, we get x is negative 1. So my two solutions are negative 1 and 7. Okay, then for number 12, certain forms of quadratic functions tell us about different information about the graph. Complete the following information. So this one, there's no negative out in front, so I know it's going to open up. My x-intercepts would be, when I set these equal to 0 and solve them, I should get x equals negative 5 and positive 1. Alright, so set them equal to 0, x equals 1, x equals negative 5. Alright, this one has a negative in the front, so I know it's going to open down. It's going to have a reflection. And then the y-intercept would just be when x is 0. If I plug in 0 for the x's, we get 0, 5. And you could always just plug this into the calculator and see where the y-intercepts are. And then for this one, no negative in the front, so it's going to open up. The vertex is my h and k. Inside is always the opposite, so we get negative 2, 6. And since this parabola is opening up, the vertex would be the minimum point, or the lowest point. Also, domain is always all real numbers, or negative infinity to infinity. And then for the range, if you were to graph this, you would start at 6, and then continue up to infinity. You could always just graph this and see it on the graph. Right, and then for D, which graph matches each function above? Alright, so this one, the image kind of sucks, but you can kind of tell where how the graph should look like. This one's upside down, so there's only one that's upside down, it would be B. This one has two x-intercepts at negative 5 and at 1, so this one has to be A. And this one has a vertex at negative 2, 6, so you would go left 2, up 6, so this one would fit this one. Right, then for 13, identify the following for the graph of f of x equals x squared plus 10x plus 23. Which direction does the parabola open? Opens upward, because it's going to be positive, so it opens like a normal parabola. And then what is the equation of the axis of symmetry? Alright, so let's just graph it and see how the graph looks. X squared plus 10x plus 23. Alright, so let's locate the vertex here. Alright, so right here you could tell that at this point, if I go up from here or go down from here, the y values start repeating. So this middle point would be the vertex, -5, -2. Alright, so the equation of the x-axis, or the axis of symmetry, is where it gets cut in half. So right here you can see where it gets cut in half. It's x equals -5. And then the vertex, we just found the vertex. So -5, -2. Alright, then for number 14, a penny is dropped from a tower. The function that represents the height in feet, h of a penny, t seconds after it was dropped, is h of t equals -16t squared plus 76. So sketch the graph that represents the situation. Alright, so we got a tower. We're going to throw a penny down. And here, let's just graph the functions so we can kind of get an idea how it's going to look like. Alright, so the height would be when x is 0. That would be the y-intercept. So the x is 0 at 76. Alright, so the building is 76 feet tall. And then when y is 0, that would be the height it took for it to come back down. Alright, so it's kind of hard to see here, so let me go to the graph. Let's find the x-intercepts. So second calc, let's find the intersects. Alright, let's see. Let me try this again. And so here it is. So the x-intercept is at 2.16. So this is when it came back down. So it came back down at 2.17 seconds. Alright, so what is the reasonable domain of the situation? Remember, the word reasonable means real life. Think about this in a real situation. So the time would have to be at 0 seconds, and then the time it came back down, 2.17. So domain is from 0 seconds to 2.1 seconds. So this is the time it took for it to come back down. So when it started to when it finished. And then range, that's going to represent the height. So we start at a height, or the height could be 0, which is what it is at the end, and the highest height would be 76. Alright, so range is from 0 feet to 76 feet. And then for what approximate time values will the height of the penny be less than 50 feet? Alright, let's see if I could find it on here. Alright, so let's see 50 feet. So second table set. Let's see what we get for 50. Wait, wrong thing. Let me just ask it. Let's see what the y value is when Okay, this one's probably easier to see on Desmos, but the answer should be between 1.27 seconds and 2.17 seconds. And so again, you can just go on Desmos and see the graph. The one on Desmos probably gives you a better description of the graph than the one on the calculator. Alright, so now we're on the last page. So this one's going to be a linear, or not linear, it's going to be a quadratic data. So we have to use quadratic. So stat, edit, we got 10, 8, 13, 9, oh. Alright, so once you have your data in, go to Stat, Calc, and this time we're going to use quadratic because it's quadratic data. And then we get y equals negative 0.13x squared plus 2.79x minus 6.01. And then again, it's right there, the A, B, and the C. And I use quadratic because it's quadratic data. Alright, and then for 16, we're going to use this graph for 16. So what is the value of f of 2? So when x is 2, what is y? It's going to be 1. Alright, so right there, 1. Alright, then approximate the zeros of the function. So the zeros would be the y, or the x-intercepts. I would say they're about 2.2, 5.8. The vertex would be at 4, negative 3. So that means the axis of symmetry is at x equals 4. And then since we already know the vertex, I could make this equation. I just do y equals x minus 4 squared. So remember the inside is always opposite, minus 3. So x minus 4 squared minus 3. Then we have what is the solution set when f of x equals 1. So if I draw a horizontal line at 1, we would intersect at 2 and at 6. And then when it's less than 1, it would represent this bottom portion. So this would be x, or sorry, not x, negative 2. Negative 2 is less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 6. And then what is the domain and range? Domain should always be negative infinity to infinity for quadratics. Then for the range here, we start at negative 3 and keep going up to infinity. And then if we were to draw the line y equals negative 2x plus 8, where would they intersect? So we have the y-intercept at 8. We're going to go down 2, right 1, because the slope is negative 2. and then they intersect at these 2 points, at 1, 6, and at 5, negative 2. Alright, so now for the bottom portion, solve by factoring, show your work. On number 17, you could factor out a GCF. Alright, so then for this one, all we have to do is find two numbers that multiply to 25, add up to 10. That would be x plus 5, x plus 5. So then if I set them equal to 0, we only get one solution. It's going to be x equals negative 5. So you would do x plus 5 equals 0, x equals negative 5. Right, then for this one, we get 3 plus or minus square root of 49 over 4. Square root of 49 becomes a 7, so we got 3 plus or minus 7 over 4. We have two cases. If I add the 7, we get 10 over 4, which is 5 over 2. Second case, if I subtract the 7, we get negative 4 over 2, which is negative 4 over 4, which is negative 1. So here my solutions are negative 1 and 5 over 2. Then for B, distribute the negative. We get 10 plus 3i minus 20 plus 14i. 20 minus 10 is negative 10. 3i plus 14i is plus 17i. So just combining like terms. Right, then on C, do the Dorito. 4, 2, and 10, they all reduce by 2's. So we get 2 plus 1i over 5. Alright, so then on 19, solve using the quadratic formula. So let's set this equal to 0 first. Right, we get 4 plus or minus the square root. And then on the bottom we just have 2. So let's find the discriminant first. Alright, so we got b, which is negative 4 squared, minus 4 times my a, which is 1, my c, which is negative 7, and we get 44. Alright, so I could simplify the 44 with 4 and 11. Alright, so we get 2 square root of 11 when I simplify the 44. So we got 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 11 over 2. Let's simplify the 2's. This becomes 2 plus or minus square root of 11. Alright, then for 20, we need to complete the square. So we got x squared plus 8x. The c value is already moved. To find my new c value, I do 8 divided by 2 squared. That's 4 squared, which is 16. If I factor this, I get x plus 4 squared equals 25. Square root both sides, we get x plus 4 equals plus or minus 5. So we got two scenarios. So now I need to subtract the 4. We get negative 4 plus or minus 5. Alright, now the two cases. Negative 4 plus 5, that would give us 1. Negative 4 minus 5 would give us negative 9. So those would be my two solutions. Alright, then for 21, use any method. I'm going to use the square root method on this one. Just move the 36. Square root both sides, we get x equals plus or minus 6. Alright, for this one's already factored out for you, so just, wait, hold on. It's not equal to 0, so we have to multiply this in. We get 2x squared plus 2x equals 40. Subtract the 40. And then factor out the 2. Right here, I'm going to do this one right here. So the 2 isn't going to give you a solution, so we got x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. Factor this. The two numbers that multiply to negative 20 add up to 1 would be x plus 5, x minus 4. And then when I set each one equal to 0, we get x equals negative 5, x equals 4. So those would be the two solutions on B. Negative 5 and 4. Right, then same thing on this one, set it equal to 0, x squared plus 2x minus 2 equals 0. Right, for this one, use the quadratic formula because there's nothing that multiplies to negative 2 and then adds up to 2. So let's do it real quick. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 2 over 2. Alright, so 4. So let's find the discriminant. Discriminant is 12. Alright, this would give me 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 3 over 2. They'll simplify to 1. Sorry, it's right there. And we get x equals, we get 1 plus the square root of 3. Plus or minus square root of 3. And then for the last one, multiply this together, you should get 2x squared, and also set it equal to 0. We should get 2x squared plus 2x minus 21 equals 0. Alright, so FOIL this. Let's write it out. This is what you get. 2x squared plus 6x minus 4x minus 12 equals 9. Subtract the 9, and then you end up with this. So the two that are equivalent to this are this one, because it's the exact same. If you add the 21, you get this one. If you move everything to this side, set it equal to 0, you end up with the same thing. And this one doesn't work. And that's the end of the review video. Alright, good luck. Make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure you study.